right. So our last stream ended abruptly. Thank you to Jack. Um, I'm live here with Katie from Pennsylvania.
Hello.
We are discussing what it's like living with a service dog. Before we got disconnected, Katie was explaining how she was a CNA and how being a CNA was her life's goal and dream. So, do you want to pick up from there, Katie, and tell us what happened?
Yeah, so I loved being a CNA. I wanted to go back and get my nursing. But then it became unsafe for me to work anymore, so I came home. And I used to work in a nursing home, so unlike a hospital, I'm taking care of the same people day in and day out. So it's not quite changing up. So you get to know people and their stories, what they like, what they don't like. I mean, these people become your family almost. And it feels nice to be able to help. Like when your resident's having a bad day and you can make them chuckle, like that's cloud nine. So I absolutely love my residents. So when I was told it wasn't safe for me to work anymore, I was devastated because I felt like if I wasn't doing something to help, then I was useless. And it hit me really hard. So I ended up getting Ragnar for the purpose of being a service dog. And he gave me something to plug into, to learn about study training, find people, books to read, and stuff kind of whatever I can. But then I found y'all. I found the Service Dog Support and Training Solutions, and that's opened up a huge door. So not only was I able to go through the program to train Ragnar to be a service dog, and we worked really hard. I mean, everybody who graduates does, but we spent a lot of time, and I met friends and people who I could relate to, and honestly, like having you and being able to talk to you has taught me so much about what was going on with me, since we both have POTS, and nobody ever really sat down and talked to me about, this is what happens, this is how you help it, this is kind of the prognosis for the rest of your life, what it's going to look like probably. Like I didn't have anybody do that, so being able to figure out what to look for and how to help, because your doctors seem to know more than my current doctors. So it just gave me something to pour myself into, people to connect with, and now we're starting a chapter here in Pennsylvania. So I am so appreciative to be able to use my experiences and my hardships to help somebody else through that, because that's a scary place and it gets dark.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that, and thank you for sharing that story. That's a hard story to share, but yes, being disabled, not having a service dog, can put you in a very dark place. You can even with a service dog, you can end up in a very dark place because training a service dog is hard work. Um, with our program, it takes a 2-year commitment, and then for the rest of that dog's career, you're still training and still working and continuing that bond and that training level.
Yes.
It's not, we like to train our pets to do cute tricks and be polite, but this is on a whole nother level. Service dog training is super high. We start with basic obedience, and we go from basic obedience to advanced obedience, and from advanced obedience in public. And then we have a test that they take to make sure that they can be in public safely.
Yes.
And for example, my service dog, Danny, she's 110 pounds. Danif is what it's called. She's a Great Dane Mastiff mix. And the other day we were walking around the neighborhood and we had a dog jump over their fence and into her. I had Danny's obedience down to an art. She was doing great and wasn't barking at other dogs anymore. No reaction to passing unruly dogs. Well, now I've got to start all over again because now every time we pass the dog behind a fence, she goes crazy. And so, what people don't realize is one little accident can set a service dog back by about anywhere from a couple of months to 6 months to maybe being unable to work as a service dog ever again.
Yes.
So that's a very difficult thing, especially when, as a service dog handler, you become so bonded to these animals that they're your lifeline. Like we were just discussing, the difference they make in your life is just phenomenal. They give you back your freedom and your independence. And in a lot of ways, they give you back your pride.
Yes.
Nobody wants to sit down in a wheelchair and go into the store in a wheelchair. Nobody wants to be out of breath from walking to the back of the store. And I know I'm overweight and people look at me and go, oh, she's sitting in the wheelchair because she's fat. Well, no, I'm not sweating because I'm fat. I'm not, my heart isn't racing because I'm fat, and I'm not lazy by sitting in a wheelchair. I will actually pass out before I ever reach the end of the back of the store.
Yes.
So I sit in a chair because I don't want to embarrass myself and end up on the ground with everybody surrounding me.
Hurt because if you fall into shelves, depending on how you fall into the shelves, and
yes,
on the shelves, I mean that could be a hospital visit for a decent amount of time if it happens just the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. It most definitely can turn into that. I know that a couple of times I was working at Petco before they legally decided to pronounce me disabled. I was working at Petco as a dog trainer and a cashier. And I was sitting on a stool talking to my manager. And the next thing I remember, she's yelling my name, and I realized she had a hold of my foot. And I had passed out and tipped over backwards and hit my elbow on the big window they had there by the checkout station. And I had a cut on my elbow. I still have a scar to this day from that.
Oh, wow.
And, at that point, we had no diagnosis. And then another time I had what's called an absence seizure while I was at work. And I just spaced out in front of the computer. And I lost 15 minutes. So I was sitting there typing on the computer, getting ready for a dog training class. And my service dog at the time was sitting next to me. And he was a dog that was at my side at all times. And I had this seizure. And, people will say, well, seizures are short. Yes, they are. But the time to reconnect with the world after a seizure is a lot longer. So I was sitting there in front of the computer and I was like, well, what am I doing here? And then I was like, oh, that's right. I was working on the computer. Well, okay. When is my class? Look down at my watch and it's time for class to start. And I was like, well, that's weird. I thought I had 15, 20 minutes before class starts. And then I looked down for Chewy and he's gone. And I had never trained him to do this, but when I went into my seizure, he actually got up and left my side to find help. And when nobody in the store saw this big, huge, white, fluffy dog wandering around by himself, he went outside to find somebody to help. And it was the middle of the night. It was like 8:30 at night. And somebody saw him wandering around in the dark parking lot, and they grabbed his leash, and he led them back into the store. And then they realized what had happened, and so they all started searching for me in all the wrong places. And in the meantime, they locked Chewy up in an enclosed area. So, completely out of it from my seizure, I jumped up and I ran out into the store, knocking a whole bunch of stuff over, and started yelling at strangers and employees, "Where's my dog? Where's Chewy? Where's my dog?" And they finally were like, "He's right there. Where were you?" And at the time, we didn't know what was going on. But it was super scary. And Chewy had tried to help me, but nobody else knew what he was doing.
And I think that's one thing too, that like, and there's not really much you do to help it, aside from talking to people individually. But like collectively as a whole, I think it's hard because people that aren't familiar with disabilities or aren't familiar with your disabilities,
right,
or your dog or what they might be trying to communicate. People don't know what to do in the middle of an emergency like that.
Yeah, definitely. And come to find out, there's a lot of things that can go wrong when a dog tries to go get help like that. Yeah. So now I won't even train a service dog to go get help because you're right, Katie, nobody knows what to do. And so now my current service dog, Danny Girl, I have trained her to lay down and just lay beside me to kind of create a buffer so I don't hurt myself, but also to keep people at bay a little bit so that the seizure goes, it's gone, and I can just lay there with Danny and get myself orientated enough to get out of there.
Yes.
So, there's a lot of things, I guess, that are involved in having a service dog and living with those disabilities. It's such a wide array of things to know and things to do and things not to do. What is one thing, Katie, that you would want everybody to know about living with a service dog because you're disabled?
Like in general, I would appreciate it if people out in public, like at parks or dog-friendly places, I would love for people to appreciate how important it is to keep their dogs on a leash, because like we talked about, an instance of neglect or an instance of like, oh crap, that happened, or somebody let their dog off the leash with no recall, can set us back so far. And then not only do we put the work in to get it down the first time, but then we got to put the effort in to get it back the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, or having to retire our dog. Like, people don't think it's a big deal because, oh, my dog is friendly. Not all dogs get along, right? Just because your dog's tail is wagging does not mean they're happy. And we want to be safe. We should be able to go to the park or wherever without having to worry about putting ourselves or our dog in a dangerous situation.
Absolutely.
That's probably one of the biggest problems that I'm having right now. I've got access to one park because I can only drive so far, and then like gas is really expensive. So there's one park that I go to that I can go to on a regular basis. But if I go there and there's an off-leash dog, I have to turn around and go home because it's not worth risking ragar and trauma and all that stuff. So then I don't get to walk my dog. I don't get to work my dog. I also have arthritis, right? So like POTS makes it hard to walk, but walking and keeping busy, trying to be as active as I can helps my arthritis. And when I can't do that, I have a lot harder of a time. So like, I'm not trying to be a jerk telling you not to bring your dog to Walmart. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk saying, hey, please keep your dog on a leash. It's safety. And it's a lot. Like, it's a lot that we have to do when things kind of go wrong. And I don't think pet parents really understand the gravity of those situations to us, like what that means to us.
Yes, I agree. And, it's hard because, I've seen in YouTube videos and all sorts of social media lately about people calling service dog handlers Karen because they won't let the public just pet their dog. I actually saw a social media post recently from a service dog handler themselves saying that it was our duty as service dog handlers to allow people to come up and pet our dogs because everybody loves dogs and dogs makes everybody happy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that was my dog's job to make people happy, they wouldn't be in the grocery store with me. And
Absolutely.
I'm not coming in there to make everybody happy and get hair all over the groceries. I'm there trying to go get a bag of apples or a gallon of milk without the possibility of cracking my head open on the cement floor.
Yes.
I'm there trying to live life as normally as possible, and it just so happens that takes a 110-pound huge black dog to be able to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not my duty or responsibility to let everybody pet my dog, because if she becomes distracted and she misses an alert of something coming on, I could go down, and I could go down hard and get really hurt and end up in the hospital. And if that happens, then I will be suing the person who distracted my dog and the store that I fell in. Not that I want to, but I'm on a limited income, and if I get hurt,
of dollars for medical bills.
Yes, exactly. And if a lot of people don't realize as well that distracting or harassing or harming a service dog is actually against the law and is punishable by a fine, a huge fine. It's actually a misdemeanor.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize that, and service dog handlers don't enforce that a lot because they are too anxious, too upset, too scared, and too embarrassed to enforce that. But it is a law, and the law is there for our safety and for the safety of others.
Yes.
So definitely.
And also, everybody who asks to pet our dog, everybody who asks about our disability, everybody who wants to drill us with questions about the program, they think that they're the only ones, right? So a lot of people get upset because, I just pet your dog for 2 seconds and I'll be on my way. But when you run into 10 people who want to drill you with questions and pet your dog and sit there and have a conversation about your disabilities, you'd never leave the store. It would take you 6 hours to get you things.
And that takes so much energy to be nice
to. Guilty. I feel guilty when I have to tell people no, and then they get upset. Some people get confrontational.
Yeah.
But it wears on me emotionally and psychologically when I have to be like, I need him. You can't. I'm sorry.
Yep. Exactly. So, a quick story. I went to the store one day shopping for clothes for my son. And I had Danny with me because I take Danny with me. That's part of being disabled and having a service dog, is that they go with you. And I was looking at clothes, and I heard these two ladies stop behind me, and they were talking to each other about that dog and how that dog had shoes on. And it wasn't a quiet voice either. I could hear them, and they were giggling about it. And finally, I turned around to look, and they were in the middle of the aisle pointing at me and laughing. And I had already been quite courteous with quite a few people, like you were saying, Katie. And I was tired, and I was just there to shop and go home. But I was like, all right, give them the benefit of the doubt. Let them get their giggles in, and they'll move on. They did not move on. They were standing there as if they were waiting for more people to notice that I was shopping for clothes with my service dog.
We get
And
treated like a sideshow piece.
yes, laughing and giggling and pointing, and they, oh my gosh, that dog is so huge and it's got shoes on. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I finally said, without turning around, I said, I'm not deaf. I can hear you. And this is very hurtful. I'm trying to shop and I can't get my shopping done because you guys are standing in the aisle laughing at me. And I told them, I said, it'd be one thing if you looked and giggled and moved on, but you guys will not move on. And I do not appreciate this. And they finally left. But what they didn't realize is how much physical, mental, and emotional energy that took to stand up for myself and be like, you know what, guys, go away.
Yeah.
And it hurts to have to stand up for yourself like that. You would hope that people would have common courtesy and kindness and just, not do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very difficult to have to just say, hey, look, guys, I can see you. I can hear you. Please don't do this.
For a lot of us, confrontation is hard.
Yes.
It's really hard, and we would much rather kind of melt into the background
Absolutely.
and not have people even notice that we're there. That's always my goal. So it's really hard when we have to not only endure the people making fun of us and pointing and laughing and making mean comments, but because people will follow you around the store, so sometimes they don't really give you a chance to not confront them.
Oh yeah.
And that takes a lot out of us.
It really does. And then, it's hard because you go to the store and it takes half an hour to get there. And then you're in the store for another half hour trying to get past people. And for me in the wheelchair, trying to get past the stuff that the employees leave in the aisles that I have to push out of the way or go down a different aisle. And all I did was go in for a gallon of milk and maybe some cottage cheese. And it takes me half an hour to do that. And then, I get out of there and it takes me another half hour, if not more, to get home. So I've been gone for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I get home and then I have to put the wheelchair away, charge it so that I can use it again the next day. I have to get all of the gear off Danny so she can relax. I have to put my purse away. I have to, all these things that I did to be able to go, I've now got to reverse to be able to be home. And by the time I get all that done, the only thing I can do at that point is go take a nap.
Yes.
Because I'm so done emotionally, physically, mentally. I cannot do anything else for the rest of the day.
No, and that's the thing too, is for people who don't understand, what could take you 15 or 20 minutes is going to take us several hours for so many reasons, coming from so many different angles. So when we say, I went grocery shopping and now I'm tired and need to take a nap, and you're sitting there thinking, well, you just went to the grocery store for 20 minutes.
How lazy can you be?
Right. And it's not that. It's that you guys don't see all of the effort and all of the tasks and all of what goes into having a service dog and dealing with the public. And, for like us, we trained our own service dogs. So, like, before things got real easy, we had to start from square one. So we had to deal with that on top of making sure that we were adequately training our dogs in the process.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that's our time for this evening. We'll go ahead and end it there. I know nobody has been watching tonight, but we hope to be able to educate and help, sometimes entertain with the dogs. The previous one that we had started, Jack knocked the laptop over, and that's why we had to end the stream, because it wouldn't come back up after Jack knocked it down. But feel free to join us. We'd love to do this every Friday. We're open to questions and comments. We'd love to hear from other service dog handlers. We'd love to hear from people, mainstream people who want to know more or are curious. Come join us, come learn about the disabled community and ask us questions. We'd love to be able to help you understand.
Yeah, we do this when we have spoons to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like when we do stuff like that, it's very easy and it's kind of encouraging when people ask questions and kind of plug in.
Absolutely.
So like you can drill us with questions when
Here.
we do the live, but maybe not so much when we're in the middle of the grocery store.
Right, exactly. Time and a place, and this is the perfect platform for questions. And
Yes.
we would be more than happy to answer them politely and cordially, as long as they're appropriate.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right, guys, we will see you next Friday. Or wait, maybe not next Friday. We'll get back to you on the date. We've got one more service dog handler that would love to join us. And we've got to check with her on a day and time, but we'll make this a weekly thing and see if we can reach more people and help educate more people.
Yes.
Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that's it.